2, 3.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat on the line, actually. A member of the band that you just heard, Fairland Bluegrass. A man that I actually knew back in the day. And I have some very terrifying stories about. Neil Sandon is here. Say hello,
Hey,
Neil.
how you doing?
All right,
Hello.
Neil. Actually, tell us about your band. Tell us where you guys hail out of and what you're doing.
Sure. Well, basically, if you know anything about bluegrass music, there's a huge tradition of family bands. It's one of those things they jump into it at a young age, so they tend to just play with cousins, brothers, sisters, that kind of thing. So my wife's family had this band that they started like in 2002, and they were playing for a number of years. And after I graduated from college, 2007, we got married, and one of their daughters actually got married and fell out of the band. And the funny story about that is that she sang the high harmony on that.
Oh, mercy.
And so I was brought into the band to replace a female voice, which I always found very
You were brought in to do falsetto. Oh, wonderful.
Right.
Now, actually,
Well,
curious.
what wound up happening was my voice trained, and so now I sing in that register. So the highest
Really?
voice in the band is actually me.
The guy who used to, ask me to sing Muddy Water stuff is singing, wow. So you're up in, what is that, the alto?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yep.
Wow.
I'm a medium alto. So.
Wow. Now,
That
out of
worked
curiosity, each of the band members also plays an instrument. What are you doing, Neil?
I'm playing rhythm guitar.
I see.
You won't hear a lot of fancy guitar stuff, which, to be honest, in bluegrass is quite prevalent, but we sort of try to define ourselves more as a vocal band because there's so many good voices in the band, so we focus more. I mean, we can pick, don't get me wrong, but we try to focus more on the singing than anything else.
Well, I definitely know that you're aware of how to pick. I was actually relating to Tim before this, the story where you pointed out to me, we were listening to Interpol, and you pointed out where he goes off key on purpose.
Yep.
And that it amazes me. But yeah, you're right. That is something I noticed about the bluegrass sound that you guys are going for. It's less slide or even pick driven. It's more of focusing on a voice.
Right. It's not really. It's traditional bluegrass in the sense that we use all the traditional instruments. We use the traditional harmony blend. It's a three-part harmony blend. With the tenors in the lead, and then you have a higher harmony and a lower harmony. That's pretty much always what we do. But you'll see that most of the leads, most of the instrumentation that goes on is actually the fiddle, which my sister-in-law, Hannah, and then the mandolin, which is my father-in-law. And that is traditional to have that blend, but the idea being that usually you'll have just instrumentals where people play for like 20 minutes, and it's just that over and over again without singing. And we focus much more on the complete song, and we find the audience responds better to hearing lyrics and hearing voices than they do the instruments.
Well, I know you're a music geek as well, so correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you feel that often the strum-style American guitar is kind of overdone to almost ad nauseum?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's another thing I noticed. My background, I never even heard bluegrass until like 2005.
Wow.
I started dating my wife. I never knew the music. I mean, I'd heard of it, but I just, hillbillies in overalls was like what I pictured.
Yeehaw.
And they brought me into it, and it's suits, it's concert halls, it's tremendously accomplished musicians, and what I noticed is that the level of discipline that is required to be even just a rhythm guitar player in order to create that sound, the amount of focus and everything you have to put into just playing rhythm, playing 3 or 4 chords in a song is just incredible compared to your average singer-songwriter that you'll find at a bar somewhere who's just strumming away, and it's just like a platform for him to stand on while he's singing.
Yeah.
And it's much more in-depth than that.
That actually brings a question to mind. Where do you feel like the acoustics work best? Are you talking about large hall, small chamber? What acoustic environment really suits you best?
Sure. Well, being traditional, we don't use electric instruments. The only thing that's plugged in is the bass, And that's just because, if you know anything about frequencies, the bass frequency is just not going to carry through a big room. So we do it traditionally a one mic system. If you think back to like the 30s and 40s when everybody leans in around the one mic while they play. And
really? You managed to get that sound out of one mic?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So what we found is that as long as you have decent materials in the building, as long as it's wood or concrete, and it's going to resonate, we can do a pretty good job ourselves. And so, I mean, a good sound team is crucial, but it's really weird. It's everything that they don't do that makes it right. You just set it flat and leave it as it is, and the musicians will do the rest.
I see. So you're kind of almost creating this wall of sound collage of just all the harmonies going together.
Right. We're doing our own blending. We're listening, if we have a decent monitor so we can hear ourselves, which unfortunately is not always the case. Then we're going to do our own leveling. So we're going to stand farther or closer to the mic as we need to. We're going to, correct pitches and so on and so forth. And it's meant to recreate what you'd hear if you were just walking through the South and you heard a bunch of people on a porch.
I see.
It's unadulterated. This is what it sounds like.
I gotta say, I'm impressed by at least you must have some great engineers. What came through in the recordings that you've sent us are actually pretty clear, pretty phenomenally clear for what you just described. I was not aware that was off of one mic.
Yeah, and actually, if I don't know how much you can hear exactly on the track you got, but that's a live performance.
Yes, so I definitely got that. That's why I'm so surprised.
Yeah, that's just what we sound like. So, and that's the thing is, we've done studio albums. One of them is actually currently out of print, and we remastered the whole thing, and we're going to put it out again probably in the winter, like probably January, February.
Very nice.
We found that we tried doing the multi-tracking and running everything through processors and all the condensers and everything like you would have for a regular studio band, separate mics and all that, and we found that it just doesn't work for the way we play. And we get much better sound if we just play. And just, the only problem is you make a mistake, you got to start over. But we just play the song all the way through, lay it down, and it usually, 2 or 3 takes, and we got ourselves a good cut.
That's quite impressive, I got to say. And you're going to have to make sure to contact me again once you get that redone, the album that's currently out of print.
All that's happening, all that's between us and release is album art at the moment.
Really?
We got all the tracks and everything, yeah.
Just album art? Oh.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is we do our own production. My wife, the banjo player, actually is a graphic artist. So she does all of the album art in it. So if you go on our website, there's a picture of the CD right in the front. I don't know if you've been there yet to see it, but all that art that's on there, she did that, and she's doing the new one. And we did that because initially it was a budgetary thing, and then it worked out so well with the first CD that we did that she developed our own look as far as albums go. This is a Fairland album. You can tell just by looking at it. You don't even need the words. So we just decided to keep going with it.
All right. And now that you've mentioned your website, you got to tell the folks out there what it is.
Yeah, it's www.fairlandbluegrass.com.
Okay.
FAIRLAND bluegrass.com. And I mean, it's got our Twitter feed on it, which I like because we update that with stuff from, under the stage, backstage, during breaks, while we're on the road or whatever. We update that constantly, so there's always something to look at, but then it's got all the, the usual spiel. It's got our tour dates and the store and all that stuff on it, so you can get all the info you need if you need it.
Well, thank you, Neil. And by the way, I'm sure Chris and Mahoney would say hello if they knew you were actually talking to me. I haven't heard from them in a while. They're sitting over in Incheon. They're like 20, 30 miles away. Never hear from them. They never call.
Well, if
they
you
never
ever
write.
do see them, you got to smack them for me.
I will. Apparently, I'm pretty sure it's because Mahoney has a new girlfriend.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
The guy looks like he's still a giant. He's a giant Superman. He still looks like the Ubermensch.
Right.
Seriously, this guy is just huge, and he has these, for those who we're talking about a friend from college, he has these, crystal blue eyes, dark, long, black hair, and looks like a giant Superman.
Yep.
And can
the dude is he's incredibly ripped. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody with that body build not on TV before.
Yeah. And, he can down Boilermakers like they're nothing and talks about philosophy from memory. He can cite German from memory. He's going...
Yeah.
Mahoney. I'm going to have to smack him. All right. Neil, thank you for joining us. And everybody else out there, get in a helping of it. We're actually going to be going into some more music in just a second. So, stay tuned.
Dress yourself in silk and satin, put some ribbons in